Welcome back. We'll talk Afghanistan, schools, and something that's not a sign of the apocalypse, although we probably wouldn't be that surprised if it were. I'm Mike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. Some members of Alabama's congressional delegation have leveled strong criticism at the Biden administration's handling of the Afghanistan withdrawal, reports AL.com's Howard Koplowitz. On the day that two suicide bombings near the Kabul airport killed a reported 13 American service members and 60 Afghans, some lawmakers were calling on President Biden to do whatever it takes to get all Americans home, even if it means ignoring a Tuesday deadline to end evacuations. Congressman Mike Rogers, an Alabama Republican, quote, "The United States doesn't take orders from terrorists. President Biden needs to do whatever it takes to get U.S. citizens out of Afghanistan." Congressmen Gary Palmer and Jerry Carl, also Republicans, joined in on the criticism. The president spoke from the White House Thursday afternoon, promising to complete the evacuation of Americans from Afghanistan and to hunt down the terrorists responsible for the attacks and, quote, "make you pay." The president said the Islamic State was responsible for the attacks and that there was no evidence the Taliban were involved. A year ago, the return to school in Alabama did not seem to be the COVID superspreader that some had feared. Of course, extensive virtual classrooms were in place in parts of the state to kind of help keep some of those bad numbers down. But this year, with the much more virulent Delta variant strain, we're seeing COVID cases really affect students in schools and school systems. AL.com's Dennis Pillion reports that in the week ending August 21st, there were 5,571 cases of COVID-19 reported among Alabamians ages 5 to 17. Now that's up from 700 last year. Alabama State Health Officer Dr. Scott Harris delivered those figures at a briefing hosted by the Medical Association of the state of Alabama. Dr. Harris again recommended students wear masks in school. Quote, "It's very important for us to keep children in school, but we absolutely have to find a way to do that safely." Now add Shelby County schools to the more than two-thirds of the state that is requiring face coverings in the classroom. Superintendent Lewis Brooks said that beginning Monday, everybody will need to wear masks inside. And COVID's also affecting high school football again. Columbia forfeited Thursday's game against New Hope in Huntsville after losing 6 players because of contract tracing after several students at the school tested positive for COVID. Now, we're not going to get all biblical on you or anything, but in a year where COVID came roaring back, and obviously our politics are cursed somehow, and you have army worms turning lawns brown overnight in North Alabama, Florida Georgia Line's released a new album, you're probably bracing yourself for the next plague. But if you're out by the Flint River in Madison County, Alabama next week, and the river's running red, you don't have to look for Aaron with a staff in his hand. AL.com's Lita Gore reports that the Alabama Department of Environmental Management is putting red dye in the river at various locations to test the water flow between around Hazel Green to Owens Crossroads. Times for the testing are TBA and will depend on the weather. And the red dye can't hurt you, by the way, according to ADEM. It's just red dye. Thank y'all so much for listening. Sorry to FGL fans and anyone else offended by today's news. Hey, watch what Tropical Storm Ida does this weekend and where the track ends up going. Depending on when you're listening to this, it could be Hurricane Ida by now. At the very least, Alabama could get rain in some parts of the state between Sunday evening and early next week. And the surf will probably be a dangerous place to be as the storm approaches. We'll be back here on Monday. Until then, y'all have a great weekend. Come on by and see us on the internet anytime you can at AL.com.